Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan. I'm excited to dive into this bottle today because last year, the Joseph Magnus cigar blend of 2023, it blew me away. It made my top 10 list of whiskeys for the year. Well, we've got the Murray Hill Club bottle now. This is a spring 2024 release coming from Joseph Magnus as well. And it has been getting rave reviews. This is batch 4. So we had 1 and 2, I think, back in 2018, and then batch 3, they sort of deviated a bit, and it was a bit of an adventurous, sort of a gamble with that batch. They think in that blend they included some light whiskey, but this time they have returned to the standard. And Nancy Fraley, the master blender over there, has, by all accounts, done an incredible job with this. So it's getting rave reviews. This in particular, batch 4, I think Good Spirits gave it an A++, which is pretty high praise. But a bit about what this actually is. So this is a blend of 8 and 17-year-old bourbon, and it's that traditional 75-21-4 mash bill. So 75% corn, 21% rye, and then 4% malted barley in the mash. They blended all right there at Joseph Magnus's blending site in Holland, Michigan, actually. They recently moved to Holland, Michigan, so that's pretty cool. So pretty local to me now. I live about 30 minutes away from Holland. So getting my hands on this is not too difficult in terms of availability, but it is difficult in terms of price point. This is about a $200 bottle. So it's not like an easy, super approachable, it's a I'm gonna spoil myself kind of bottle, and that's what this is. So big shout out to my Patreon supporters for helping fund the bottle today. Appreciate you guys. But then they take the blend and they finish it for 4 months in Calvados casks. So if you're not familiar with Calvados, it is, it's distilled in the northwestern portion of France. Normandy. It's essentially like, think of like distilled apple cider. It's sort of like an apple brandy that's really unique to the region. And this comes in at 111 proof. So, excited to try it. Let's get our pour, let her open up a bit. And one of the very first things I noticed about this is the color. Look at how dark. Look how dark that is. You want to compare that to something? Let me grab the cigar batch real quick. So this was dark, rich, fruity, leathery. Look at the comparison here. This is so much darker. This looks like mahogany in comparison. I'm very excited about that. So like I said, this is batch 4. My bottle is 2001 for those of you who care about such things. All right, let's go. I gotta say, I've always been a big fan of the branding and bottling with Joseph Magnus products. This is like silver embossing on this really royal blue color. Makes me think French. High quality French, sort of a branding vibe going on there. And the ribbed shaft at the top of the bottle, I've always been a big fan of as well. Get in here on the nose. And the very first thing that comes to mind on the nose of this is, orchard culture is a really big part of West Michigan. There's tons of orchards around the Grand Rapids and Holland area. And especially in the harvest season, it's really popular to go to these orchards, take the family, take the kids, go on hay rides, go pick your own apples, get some fresh cider, apple cinnamon donuts at these at cideries and orchards. It's just a big part of the culture around here. This, to me, smells like a walk through an orchard at harvest season. The thick, sweet apple in the air. It just makes me think of being in the store and they got these big baskets just full of different kinds of apples with the paper signs about what they are, what they taste like, and how much they cost. And you're smelling, you're taking all of that in. Beautiful, sweet, fruity nose. But to offset that fruity sweetness, I'm also getting some darker notes as well. I think of like plum and leather. And there's this great oaky funk note that's coming off the nose as well, which I can only assume can be attributed to the 17-year-old bourbon. That's a long time to be sitting in a dark, damp warehouse. You know what I mean? Love that note. Well, let's get in here and try this. Cheers. Man, that is delightful. There's a tannic spice to the whole sip there. Could be a mix of the rye and the age on the oak. But there's this tannic spice in there throughout the whole thing. So it's not overly sweet, but it is sweet. I think of flaky pastry and fruit notes. Makes me think of like an apple toaster strudel, maybe. I'm not like a high class cuisine kind of guy. I used to be, but then I had kids. And so a lot of my tasting notes are like There's stuff that's family friendly. Like, instead of a really nice apple strudel from a French bakery, no, it's toaster strudels, straight up. And then I squeeze the frosting out of that little packet on top of it and hand it to the kids. Toaster strudel, baby. The deeper, richer notes come through late in the palate, where that leather comes through a little bit more. Helps to hold everything up, give it a little bit of a base end, so it's not all top heavy with sweet fruities. But the finish, as it sits there, I get this wonderful funk note, but then I get almost, I think, of apricot. It's not the same thing as that appley fruitiness that we got up front. It's more of what I attribute with a well-matured, mellowed-out rye. That's the fruitiness I get on the tail end of the palate and into the finish, along with that oaky funk. And that's really what I'm left with for a while on that finish. You know, I'm anxious to let that bottle open up even a little bit more and see if more of those fruit notes can start to open up and become a little bit more vibrant the longer it sits. But I gotta say, overall, I really like that sip. If I could get nitpicky on anything at all, I almost feel like I want even just a fuzz more proof on this, and maybe a little bit more of that oily mouthfeel. It's not that it's thin. It's certainly not thin, but if I could get a little bit more of that creaminess where it clings to the inside of your mouth and some of those fruity notes have a chance to sort of pop alive later in the finish because of it, I think that would even elevate this a little bit further. But again, that's being a little bit nitpicky. This is otherwise delicious whiskey. Yeah. The one thing I think is going to be a bit of a challenge, a bit of a hurdle for people to get over in order to get into this bottle, obviously, the price point. And it's not that the price doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense. I mean, you're looking at 8 to 17-year-old bourbon in here that was sourced that they had to pay for, right? And then you got to pay for fresh Calvados casks and have them imported from France and then do all of your finishing process. That's a big investment to make this product. So I totally understand the price point. I think that it's perfectly fair, perfectly reasonable for what this is. But your market of people who are out there looking for a $200 bottle is considerably smaller than your market of people that's going out there is like, I've got 40 to 50 bucks to spend on a bottle of whiskey today. What am I going to get? In fact, I picked this up because it was on my radar already. But I went to my local liquor store that I have a good relationship with. They told me, hey, Ryan, hey, come on in on Thursday morning. We're supposed to have a fresh shipment of Heaven Hill, and there's a pretty good chance we're going to have some old fits in there. So I was there when they opened the doors and walked in, and he was like, I'm so sorry, dude. They postponed the shipment, but, we did get a fresh case of these Murray Hill clubs in. And I was like, you know what? It's on my radar. I showed up here ready to spend money on an old Fitz. I'll go ahead and I'll pick it up because I wanted to cover it anyways. So it worked out. And quite frankly, I think that I will enjoy this bottle more than an Old Fitz. Old Fitz to me is, I've had several Old Fitz pours, Bottle and Bond, the 15 years, stuff like that. And I've always liked it, but I never loved it. But I figured it would be something worth covering on the channel because obviously people would be interested in that bottle. It's a beautiful decanter, shows great on a shelf. So I think I'll be more happy to have something that I'm going to enjoy drinking rather than something I'm just going to enjoy showing off and flexing. You know what I mean? And that's why my Joseph Magnus cigar blend from last year is almost gone because it's just so good. And I only ever have like a half ounce, maybe an ounce max when I pour from that bottle because I love it, but I also want it to last. So I'm like, just a little bit. I have a feeling this is going to be a similar bottle in that regard. Hard not to drink it, but also hard to say goodbye to it. So now comes the hard part. I got to give this thing a score based on my scale. If I remember correctly, I gave the cigar blend from last year a flat 9. I think. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I gave it a 9, which is like, I think I've only given it 2 9s in the history of my channel. That's how much I adored that bottle. But the Murray Hill Club blend from Nancy Fraley herself there, Joseph Magnus. What are we going to give this? Let me take maybe like a 1/4 ounce hit real quick from the cigar blend. Hang on. Just a little reference point. Man, I love that stuff. All right, Murray Hill Club, Batch 4, 2024 spring release. I think I'm going to land at an 8.4. This is fantastic whiskey. It is well blended, masterfully blended. It's delicious. It's got the fruit, it's got the sweet, but it's also got the tannic spice. It's got the funk you get on a well-aged product as well to accompany it. If anything, I would just want a little bit more of that thick, creamy mouthfeel. Maybe elevate the proof just a few points to help get it there. It's a premier product, but it is expensive. It's a $200 bottle, and you may love it, you may not love it. I can't tell you that for sure. So maybe you should pay for a pour somewhere before you commit to the bottle. Otherwise, if you think, hey, those are things I love, those tasting notes really speak to me, go ahead and grab this with your, your splurge bottle for whatever. Maybe it's your splurge bottle of the month or your splurge bottle of the year. I don't know what. But I think that it's definitely worth picking up if you really do enjoy some of those fruity and more mature bourbon notes. Great bottle, all around. Love it. Recommend it. Thanks so much for tuning into the video today. I appreciate each and every one of you. If this isn't your first time here, feel free to hit the subscribe button. We'd love to see you around more often. Kick your shoes off, stay a while, take your coat off, hang it up, and spend some time with us. We also have a public Discord, which is totally free to join. You can get in there. Link is in the description. We got a great community, very active, wonderful folks. We also have a more private Patreon group, which if you check out the Patreon, it's only $1 to join the base tier, which is great. Very approachable, and it gives you access to our Patreon lounge where we have further discussions, share samples with one another. A lot of guys are really hooking each other up there, guys and gals alike. Some wonderful whiskey-loving ladies in our community as well. So all are welcome. Cheers, my friends. May you live richly and get better with age. I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.